Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Coffee Talks with Cartan. Today we have a guest from a very special country in the Caribbean, St Lucia, and she's has a lot of success so far. She's a three-time Olympian. She's six-time Central American champion, two-time Pan American champion, the most recent being in Lima, Commonwealth champion, and the only St. Lucian has accomplished this. She accomplished this in 2018 in Gold Coast in the Commonwealth, and also a Diamond League champion, and many more accomplishments that we're gonna go over. But thank you, Levern, for being with us today, and I'm looking forward for this conversation.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Levern. Well, I wanted to start. Tell me, where did you grow up? I was going over your biography, and this small place Babano came to the ring. Could you please tell us about your how did you grow up in this place?
Yeah, so I'm from the community of Babono. It's not really a small community, but it's one of the biggest communities on the island. Um, I was raised by, a single parent, one of four children. I was also raised in the Christian faith. Um, I looked up to my mom a lot, and she's been such an inspiration, just knowing how hard she worked to raise us, and just learning from the different morals and discipline that I was brought up with from her. So yeah, I looked up to her a lot, and I really appreciate her for all her hard work and what she has done. I think it has been a success because yeah, I'm grown now and I survived, and I want to just give credit to her for that. And yeah, I really like the community I'm from, and people, said it should be the capital of St. Lucia because we have so many sportsmen and women from the community of Babono, and we're really good when it comes to sports. For the past few years, we've been winning, several of the sportswoman and sportsman title for the country coming out of Babono. So I'm really proud to be, you know, a resident of the Babylon community.
No, nice. And I mean, you grew up in Babano, and then you went to primary school there. And how did you start getting into sports? How was your journey to high jump?
Okay, so pretty much I live my entire life in Babono. I went to the Babono infant school. I went to the Babono primary school. At the school, that's where I started athletics. At the time, I just started running, and as kids, we just do it for fun, not knowing how far it could take us in life. We just run against each other, we compete against each other. And at the time, I realized, yeah, I had the talent and the ability, just winning everyone I compete against, with everyone I run with, I was always winning. I competed for my school, my primary school at the time, and I won like most of my races, if not all. And then from the Babono primary school, I went to Enchipo Secondary School, and that's where I actually started high jumping at age 14 in Form 2, which I think is pretty late to start a career. But I think it's possible. But if I had a choice, I would probably start a little earlier. But then I went to the Enchipo Secondary School when I was in the second form. My social studies teacher at the time, he was the P teacher at the school, and he just suggested or advised me to do the high jump for my house, because we have like different houses at the school and we compete against each other. And
Is that Mr. Gregory
oh, Mr.
Lubin?
Gregory Lubin, yes, he
Okay.
was my first high jump coach. And I had no idea how to do high jump. I don't know the technique or anything, but I was like, sure, I will give it a try. And doing it for the first time, I won my competition. And not too long after that, we had another competition in St Lucia, and I broke the national record. And I was like, to break the national record with like no training, no technique or anything. And I was like, okay, well that seems like something special, and like people don't do that every day. So then I started taking it a little more seriously. I started training for it, and from there I just started blossoming in the high jump.
So you were only 14 years old and you broke the national record.
Yes, and I still hold it since then. So it's
Wow.
been 22 years since I have the national record, and hopefully I could put it a little higher before retiring.
And what was Mr. Lubin's? He said a quote to you, or like a phrase, no? Like take no prisoners. What was
Yes,
the?
well, he loves this quote, take no prisoners. So, we go out there and then don't underestimate anyone, and don't leave room for any mistakes or anyone to creep in. So you go out there with the intention that, yeah, you don't let anything slide by. You go out there, you give off your best, and hopefully we come out with the win. So
So
yeah.
that's where it is. I was curious about that quote. Take no prisoners. But no,
Yes.
nice, good one there, Mr. Lubin. And so you started high jumping, and then you compete in Carifta events, I guess. No, after that, and how does that evolve? That evolved until you became one of the few professional athletes in St Lucia. No, like full time.
Yeah. So after I competed for Enchipo Secondary School, that's how you get selected to represent the country at regional competitions before we get to international competitions. And being the record holder now, and then winning most of my events, I was selected to represent my country at Carifta Games, Windward Islands Games, OACS championships. So these are all like regional championships, and I still hold the record for most of them. And from there, when you go on a bigger scale, we have like college coaches now scouting around and seeing, what potential athletes they could have on their team. And at the time, I was still doing very well at a young age, and I got a scholarship to go to the US to study and to do high jump as well. So I got a scholarship, and then I went to Georgia. First, I went to Albany State University, and then I transferred to Georgia. So and then I continued high jumping for them, giving them the points that they needed, and I felt like it's been a success, getting a free education but doing what you love at the same time.
No, and being in such a like big school as UGA, University of Georgia, Division I school, and then you go there and you also become a record holder, no, in Georgia. So you're breaking records everywhere you go. How was your experience in Georgia as a student athlete? Because I heard really good stories of student athletes, and I'm curious to hear how was your experience there.
I really like my experience at Georgia. They're really good when it comes to academics. You have to be good in school and sports. A lot of times, athletes try to get the way out or make it a little easier because they're athletes and they don't take their studies seriously. But for Georgia, if you lucky, if you need some help in your academic area, they would always provide, a tutor
Tutors.
or somebody to help you better your grades. So that was a plus. And, on the sports side, they're really good. They're very good at teamwork. Everyone supports everyone. Everyone encourages everyone. So it was just like the team spirit, and I think they're all rounded, and I think that was a plus for me, and that's why I was so successful.
Right. And so your experience in Georgia, do you think competing at the national level in the US, like NCAA, basically before professional, it's the highest level. Do you think that kind of like give you like all the preparation and all the, in Spanish we call fogueo, like all the experience to kind of become an Olympian You think Georgia, how was that transition from being as a student athlete to becoming an Olympian? How was your journey there?
First of all, I think Georgia is part of the SEC, and I think the SEC is one of the strongest conferences. So I feel like if you could make it through the SEC, you could make it through anything. So first of all, the plus was that, yeah, being an SEC champion, or just being a representative coming out of the SEC, everyone's just like, yeah, they're the best of the best. Because when you look at the results of the competitions, the SEC results were always higher than, I don't know, Big Ten or Pac-10 or whatever it is. Like, so I think just being from the SEC was like a plus. And I think transitioning from college to professional, it wasn't all smooth sailing. It was just that you get to be a lot more independent and you learn a lot. Because in school, you have a coach and you have a team. So you always have people around you doing things for you and helping you out. But when you become a professional, you have to do most of these things yourself. For the most part, I've been traveling alone. So you have to be a lot more responsible. You don't want to miss your flight. You want to make sure you know what time you're competing. You want to know what time you need to take the shuttle. You need to be, awake early for certain things. So you have to plan everything by yourself. So I think, the transition is just that you grow up a lot quicker, and then you have to be a lot more independent. You're not going to be depending on your teammates or the coach, anybody else. So I think, but other than that, I think it went okay.
Nice. And so it was basically an enhancement to your career. Being in Georgia kind of put you in the best level to compete. I mean, then of course you learn a lot by being independent afterwards. And how was then your transition to being an Olympian? How was your experience when you qualified for the Olympics? That event when you made the mark to qualify.
Well, qualifying for the Olympics was like a huge thing. I was so excited. I couldn't believe it. And that year that I qualified for my first Olympics, I was in very, very, very good shape. And I was looking forward to doing big things at the Olympics. I was the Beijing Olympics. But unfortunately, things we can't control happened. And at the time, like when the day of the high jump, the weather was so bad. Like it stormed so much, and there was so many delays before we could continue the high jump. And I think all of that just like changed plans and everything. I wasn't prepared mentally and physically for that. But, I think I was prepared in terms of, being able to compete at that highest level at that time. But just the fact that, it rained and I wasn't prepared with like the right clothing and all of that, I think it just played a major effect on my performance at the time. But I think I learned from that, and we moved on to other Olympics. Exactly. And we got better and better with the years passing by. So yeah.
I mean, that's how, as an athlete, you come across with a lot of challenges and a lot of unexpected things. But then, as you said, that's how you learn. But then you kept performing great, and you made it again to the Olympics in 2012 in London, and you were the flag bearer. So you were representing your country, like you were putting St Lucia in the map. How was that experience? I mean, London Olympics, I mean, one of the best Olympics in the history, like marching in the Olympic Stadium in London. How was that experience?
Yeah, well, I've been the flag bearer on all 3 occasions at the Olympics Games and the Olympic Games. Just stepping into the stadium, it's like amazing. Like you just can't believe it when you get in there, and just like the crowd and the noise and the lights and the music, the entertainment, the opening ceremony, is amazing. That's just one thing everyone looks forward to, the opening ceremony. So before entering, you're nervous and everything, but when you step into the stadium, I think all that just goes away, and then you just like suck in like everything that's going in there at the moment. So I think it's just an honor to carry the flag too. That's not something, you know, any athlete gets to do on any given day. And to do it on all three occasions, I think it's really an honor, and I'm just so thankful for Saint Lucia, you know, seeing it fitting to make me the flag bearer on all three occasions. So yeah, thankful for that.
No, wow. And I mean, that's an honor, of course. And like being as an athlete there should be, well, it's another level. But how about being as a fan? Like, do you recommend people to experience the Olympics as a fan, like going to an event, not only the opening ceremony, but like, did you see um, like a lot of good experience? Did you see anything out of the ordinary in the stadium, like to recommend the people to go as fans?
I think a lot of fans like if you want to see a world record, you never know. Seeing it on
Yeah,
TV and seeing it in person, it's totally
exactly.
different. Like the day Usain Bolt was running, the stadium would be packed and crowded, like no seats. People would be standing and everything. So I was like, that feeling in the stadium, it's different to like seeing it on TV, and you don't want to miss that. And you want to say, oh, I saw that in person, not on TV. So I think, yeah, if you want to see something spectacular, or you want to see a world record, or you just want to see someone run or compete, you have to be there in person to see that.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, there's something special about being live in an event. I mean, of course, right now we have the technology that makes us closer to having that feeling of being live. But
Yeah.
being there, as you said, like you never know what's gonna happen. Maybe you see a record in front of you, and it's like that experience gets you
Yeah.
forever. I mean, that's really valuable. Um, so, Levern, what's next in your career? I mean, you're training now for Tokyo. You're now, I mean, right now you're in Georgia in visiting friends, but you're going back to London, and that's where you're training. What's the future of Levern Spencer?
So right now, like you said, I'm just on my break. Just have a little over a week left, trying to enjoy every moment of it. Then I'll be heading back to the UK to commence my training for 2021. Um, so yeah, I've been based in the UK for the last couple of months. Just decided to change up things a little bit. You know, I've been in the US for pretty much my entire career, and winding it down, I decided to make a change and let's see what happens. Most of the top high jumpers are Europeans, and I feel like, okay, well, maybe we should try something in Europe. And just going through all the different competitions in Europe, I think being at close proximity would be easier than flying from the US to Europe every time. And you know, the time difference you have to adjust, and then the long travel. So I think
That makes sense.
being closer to meets and everything would be a lot easier on your body. So that was something else, you know, I was considering when I decided to like try to move to the UK and prepare for the Olympics.
No, smart. And you moved there. When was it? It was last year. When did you?
Last year, November.
Okay, and then you had a competition recently, no, in Rome, or where was
Yeah,
it?
I did.
Yeah.
I did a few competitions. I think they went pretty okay. They weren't terrible, but they weren't great. But I'm just so thankful that we were able to get a few meets in. This year has been so strange that, you know, many of the competitions being cancelled. So I'm just happy that I was able to do something out of the ordinary, which was training and get out there and just jump and have fun. Knowing that, that nothing really counts because everything was like on pause until December. So I was like, yeah, just go out there, have fun, try to stay healthy, and let's see what happens next year. So
How
it
how
was
was your
okay.
how was your training experience now with all the pandemic? How did you use your creativity to train? You were training at home? Were you doing workouts in the park? How was that? How did you manage it?
Well, my training has been, different for sure. Our facility got closed really early, sometime in March, and it didn't get opened up till August. So that's a long time. I did a lot of my training at home, and fortunately, there's this grass field not too far from the house, so I used that as well. So I was still trying to, keep motivation and keep being determined and just going out there, whether it's cold or rain, or just trying to do something, stay active. And yeah, I just did everything I can at the house and see what would happen when I did a few meets, and I think it went pretty well.
No, nice. I mean, coming from, I mean, you lived in the US for some time, but coming from the Caribbean, now changing the weather changed to the UK, it's pretty big. Plus the quarantine, plus everything, like
Yeah,
that's quite a challenge.
yeah.
And did you do some baking and this? I heard you like desserts and you do baking. Did you do some baking while you were in quarantine, or
Well,
did
the
you?
quarantine, I don't know. I did a lot more cooking because I love cooking. I love baking too. I did a lot more cooking. I did a lot more desserts, which weren't the best because it's kind of like you're still in season, but I doesn't know what else to do. So I was like, sure, I'm gonna make a snack. Oh, I feel for something. I'm gonna make some donuts. I'm gonna make ice cream. I'm gonna do something. So yeah, every now and then I would like do a snack or something just to get
That
out of
kept you
the
going
ordinary,
too.
just being there and being bored. Or so yeah, so yeah, I did something every now and
What
then.
was the highlight of the cooking? Do you have any special creation out of the?
I don't have anything special. Just at the time what I feel like eating, then I would prepare it.
Okay,
So I'm happy that yeah, my mom taught me how to cook at an early age too. So thankful for that. That came in
nice,
handy.
nice. And so, Levern, I wanted to ask you something before we leave. So, what's important to you besides sports? I know you like cooking a lot, you like baking, but I mean, when your career after sports, I mean, you still have another Olympics coming, and what's next for Levern? I mean, what do you outside sport? What do you value? What's Levern Spencer outside sport?
So at school, I studied health promotion, which is under public health. So I really have a passion for helping people, especially the elderly. Hence the reason for me doing that major. So I do have a Bachelor of Science in that area. So I would love to probably do something in that field. Also, I am also qualified as a certified high jumps coach, IAAF level 3. So if I do have to get into sports, I do have something to fall back on, and I am certified and qualified. So that would come in handy as
Would
well.
you like to go back to St Lucia to teach high jumping to the kids in Babono, or
I would
what do you think?
I would love to give back to St. Lucia and the athletes, because every time I go back home, so many athletes look up to me and they
Nice.
always want me to help them. I feel like, I guess just being the best athlete from the country and knowing how much success I've had, I think, my experience and everything I've done would probably have a big impact on everything. So everyone just like, can you show me how to do high jump? Can you show me this? Can you do this? Can you show me how to mark my approach? So I think, the most definitely if they need my help, and if there's somewhere I could help, you know, raise or bring up, the next high jumper coming from St. Lucia, or next sports person, or whatever it is, whatever little I can, I'm always glad to probably go back and assist.
No, your contribution to sports in St. Lucia, it's huge because all these people looking up to you, especially young kids, and
Yeah.
probably they were practicing running. You know, as you said, everyone likes to run at first,
Yeah.
But then they see Levern, it's like, okay, I want to be a high jumper.
Yeah.
And then they want to become that, and then maybe they can go pass it on to generations. So what you created there in St Lucia, it's
Yeah.
great, and it's all through sport. The power of sport is it's great. I'm a great advocate of sports, and you're a perfect example. And congratulations on what you have accomplished. And
Thank you.
one last question: what would be your advice to those young athletes or the kids in Babano or everywhere in the world to pursue sport?
I just want to encourage everyone to work hard, train hard, be persistent. Nothing comes overnight, and if you fail at first, keep trying, get up, and you can achieve. Because one thing I always, so when I go back home, most times I always go to various schools, whether it's primary schools, secondary schools, to speak to the kids. And it doesn't have to be only athletes, because sometimes a lot of your principles applies to other areas, whether you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher. I feel like some of the principles still applies. And one thing I always say is that many times when you're from a small country with limited resources, people think like you can't achieve. I have broken all that barriers, and I feel like I have gotten to the top, from Carifta to the Olympics. And I feel like if I have done it, they can do it too. So don't limit yourself because you're from a small country and feel like here you don't have something a bigger country has. And I think if you just work hard and be determined, I think you can achieve it as well. So yeah.
No, you couldn't said it better. And yeah, I mean, as you said, like you come with a lot of challenges, but you gotta keep going, and you don't need to be from a big country to make it happen. And you're the example. And well, thank you, Levern, for sharing your story here with us in this brief half an hour.
Can
Which
I
we could have
just say
talked
one
more.
more thing? Because I
Please,
think
please.
I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
question, a
Yeah,
question that has always been asked, and many
yeah.
times, people say, um, how have you been in the sport for so long? Because I've been in the sport for over 20 years, and that's something that doesn't happen every day. And it's been consecutive. I've never had 1 year that I had to sit out because of injury or anything. And people always ask, like, how do you do
Yeah.
it? So first of all, I have many things. But first of all, when I just started my career, my local manager at the time, my local manager right now in Saint Lucia, at the time he was my mentor, and we formulated this motto, which is called plus hard work plus discipline equals success. And I have been using this for my entire career, and I think that has been working for me, because I believe that everything I have achieved is only because of God. And without him, I don't think I would have any of these things I have. And I also believe that I need to work hard. Like I just said, nothing comes overnight. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. And I did that, leaving St. Lucia on my own with no family, no friends, anything, going into, a strange country. That's a huge sacrifice. um, so you have to work hard, you have to believe in God. And the other part was discipline. It takes a lot of discipline. Like sometimes the weather is so cold and raining and you don't want to do it, but you have to do it. And sometimes your coach says to do a certain thing and you think it's so hard and you want to give up, but you have to do it. So that's why I said the same principles you apply to sport can apply to something else, because you have to be disciplined if you want to get far in sports. You have to work hard. Even if you want to be a teacher, you need to work hard. You have to study. You have to do this. So my motto for my career has been, God plus hard work plus discipline equals success. And I think it has worked for me throughout my career. And I always tell them, like, it might not work for you, but it might. So if you try it too, it could help you as well. So that's one thing. And another thing is, um, a lot of, I don't know what other athletes do, but for me, I try to take care of my body a lot. I try to get massages. I go to the chiropractor. I try to stretch. I try to eat the right things. I don't smoke. I don't drink. Every now and then, I will get a snack in there, and I think that's okay. But
Yeah.
I do try to eat healthy. Vegetables, fruits, drink a lot of water. So just those little things. Because a lot of athletes ask me like, what do you do and how are you so successful and all of that. So it's just all these little things put together, and I think it makes longevity, easier for an athlete. And I haven't had any major injuries just because I did the extra things I need to do in order to keep my body healthy. So yeah, throughout my career I would have like niggling injuries, but not anything major where I had to like say I need surgery or I had to sit out. So thanks to God for that as well. That has been like my major concern. So, and he has seen me through it all. So yeah, before every competition, I pray with my local manager. When we get the outcome, whether it's good or bad, we still pray and thank God. That's like, it could have been worse, but at least I'm injury free and I'm healthy enough to go to another competition. So yeah, the human nature, you feel disappointed, but at the same time, you'll be like, yeah, it could have been worse, but I'm healthy that I'm able to get into another competition. So yeah, just all those little things together makes a long career.
A lot of factors, and I mean, of course, gratefulness. It's great, as you said, like no matter what happens, you being grateful, and
Yeah.
of
And you
course,
need the support. You need the support from your family. You need a mentor. You need someone, because it's not easy to do on your own. I didn't do it on my own. Maybe if I was doing it on my own, I probably would have been done a long time ago. But having someone you could confide in, someone you could talk to when things aren't going right, when you're discouraged or anything, and someone who understands you, whether it's, I don't know, it could be your mom, it could be your friend, anyone. But whenever you have someone you could turn to, I think that could be very helpful as well, because people get depressed so easily. And having the right persons around, having the right supports and encouragement, I think that could go a long
that's
way as well.
huge. That's a key point you're touching here, especially now in these days when people are quarantining,
Yeah.
and you're not, yeah, you're not the first one to say that, and it's good that you brought it back to attention, because I remember Rob Stoll, another Olympian that was here, he said the same thing. You gotta have a friend or someone you can talk to.
Yeah.
And a lot of athletes are, yeah, I mean, not only athletes are going through like mental health issues right now because of that. And this is a huge point. I mean, you've touched many points as well. Nutrition is key, I agree. I mean, those little factors, those the attention to detail that you have, it's key. And again, this last one of having someone you have to be of support,
Yeah.
it's key. Who was this for you? Your coaches, Mr. Dixon,
Oh,
Are
Mr.
you?
Gregory Dixon is
Yeah,
my local manager right now. He has pretty much been with me throughout my entire career. Um, First he was like my mentor, then he became my youth leader at church, because I'm very big on church. So he was my youth leader at church. Then he became my church leader, and now he's my local manager. He does pretty much all the base work in St. Lucia. Not being in St. Lucia, I can't attend meetings, I can't do certain things. So he does most of that. Um, at college, my high jump coach was Wade Norton, then Petros Kipriano, and now my coach is Dennis Doyle in the UK. So yeah, it's pretty much moving up the
you're
rankings.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Levern. Again, pretty nice to have you here and share this story, because your story, it's really valuable for a lot of people to hear. And again, I appreciate it. I wish you all the best.
I know you keep saying thank you, but I have to say this. I know you could
Yeah,
always edit it, so but I have to say it.
yeah,
So before we end, I just wanted to make sure I say thank you to the government of St. Lucia, the St. Lucia Olympic Committee, our national federation, and just local sponsors and everybody else who has been supporting me, because like I said, I did not do it alone, and it takes a lot, you know, to keep in the sport, and without support and help, I probably would not have made it this far. It's so expensive to be in the sport and not having a sponsor. So, you know, when your government steps in and your Olympic committee and just local sponsors and everybody else trying to help out, I think, you know, I really need to be thankful and say thanks to them and let them know that I really do appreciate it as well. So, yeah.
Again, no, the importance of being grateful, and thank you for sharing this. And yeah, we could go over for, that's a whole other topic of how to also athletes, how can they find support, because that's a lot of athletes, as you said, it's not easy being an athlete and just dedicate your life to sport, because you need money to travel, you need money to go to competitions. But that's a whole other topic that I would love to discuss with you. And but again, thank you for this time and for being in Coffee Talks. And good luck again in your return to the UK, and all the best, Levern.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.